For simple distillation, the glassware is made up of a 10 milliliter round bottom flask, distillation adapter, vacuum adapter, short condenser, and thermometer adapter, as well as a thermometer, a cap, O-rings between all of the points where the glassware is adapted to each other. We start by adapting the distillation adapter, the vacuum adapter, and the thermometer adapter to the short condenser, and then adapting the round bottom flask to the vacuum adapter. Make sure all of the adapting points between the glasswares have O-rings under. And then we connect two hoses to the outlets on the short condenser. These hoses are different from vacuum filtration hoses. These are thinner plastic hoses, and they would break under vacuum. They are designed for water outlets. After the hoses are connected, make sure to connect the thermometer via the thermometer adapter. Make sure that you're using an adapter point that fits both of your glassware ends. If it does not fit, feel free to change into another one. Make sure the tip of your thermometer is at the midpoint of your distillation adapter glassware. Then move on to clamp your setup to a stand. Make sure your setup is stable. Clamp it in as many points as you need to make it stable. This usually needs 2 points. For both distillation setups, we will be using heating blocks on top of the heater to make sure the round bottom flask is heated homogeneously all around. Once you have inserted the wood blocks, make sure the height of your setup is comfortable to put a graduated cylinder under the liquid collection point of your setup. And then move on to add your mixture of methanol and isopropanol into your 10 milliliter round bottom flask. For this, feel free to take off your round bottom flask out of your setup and then put it right back in. And you're connecting it to the faucet. Make sure you're connecting the hose that is on the lower end to the faucet and putting the top end hose inside the drainer to make sure you're draining your water properly. Make sure that you have connected the lower end to the faucet, because otherwise the water will just run through the faucet and run through the condenser, and the condenser will not be filled with water. We need the condenser to be filled with water, and we need to make sure the water rate is at a point where we do not have bubbling in the condenser. Make sure to turn on the water slowly so that the hoses will not be pushed off their connections with the pressure of the water. Once you start heating, the distillation process will start. The distillation will take a while to start, but once it starts, it will continue rather quickly. For this, you will have to make sure you have another graduated cylinder ready at hand. Once you collect the first distillate, you will replace your graduated cylinder with another graduated cylinder and then collect the rest of your distillate into the second graduated cylinder. You will want to make sure your heating block is at a temperature between the boiling point of methanol and isopropanol. It should be higher than methanol's boiling point, but lower than isopropanol's boiling point. Once you start collecting your distillate, make sure to keep track of the boiling in your round bottom flask. Do not let the flask dry out. Make sure some liquid is left in the flask at the time of your last distillate collection. At every 0.5 milliliters of distillate collected, make sure you note down the temperature that you have collected this volume of distillate. After you have collected all of your distillate for the simple distillation part, you can move on to the setup of fractional distillation. The only difference in the experimental part and the setup part of fractional distillation from simple distillation is that it has an extra part in its setup called the fractionation column. This column is packed with steel wool to increase the surface area of the rough surfaces present between the condenser and the round bottom flask, which will promote better fractionation between the two alcohols present in this mixture. Make sure when you're packing the fractionation column with the steel wool, you do not pack it too tightly, which will prevent the evaporated alcohol from going through the fractionation column, and it will cause backdropping into the round bottom flask, and you will not be able to collect anything into your graduated cylinder. After you have collected all of your distillates from both distillation setups, you will move on to the analysis of your first distillate, a sample of your starting mixture, pure isopropanol, and pure methanol. The analysis of these is performed via measurement of refractive indices. And what you see through a refractometer is represented at the end of this video.